Had a boyfriend at the time. He broke up with me. My dad kicked me out. Moved in with my friend on her couch. Breakup, kicked out, robbed. I was just like, what else do I have to lose? I'm just going to go to LA. I was obsessed. I have proof. I've changed my name twice. I was married and divorced twice. So I was married to Kobe Bryant.
Oh.
And then I was married to Will Smith.
Very understandable.
No, that was...
I was Miss Iverson, so I get it.
He was one of the ones also. But I didn't marry him, probably because he was with you.
Yeah. Dating is fine.
You're just starting. I don't want to discourage you, but just know it's not show up to events, look pretty, and get PR boxes. Like, there's so much work.
For someone who's frustrated or disappointed or having imposter syndrome, what's the advice you would give them? If you're trying to learn about how to navigate the industry of influence, the business of influence, what does it mean? The challenge is moving to LA. How do you navigate this landscape and create a kind of community audience that can support you, support your family, and we also talk about brand partnerships and how to monetize your brand. This episode is for you. Brandi is widely recognized by her social media handle, Love Brandi Marie. She's a dynamic influencer. She's an actress and model. Brandi's journey reflects her love for entertainment and her commitment to sharing her passion. Brandi shares her online presence by showcasing her vibrant personality and masterful storytelling skills through a mix of entertaining content, including fashion, beauty, lifestyle tips, all while promoting brands that she genuinely loves, which we will get into. Her ability to connect with her followers is rooted in her authenticity in a way that should be studied, if I do say so myself. Brandi's career is not just about glamour. It's also about empowerment. She uses her platform to inspire others to pursue their dreams by fostering the importance of a strong community. Her journey exemplifies the power of influence in today's digital landscape. Welcome, the Brandi Marie King.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Before we do anything, can you print that?
Yes.
So I can frame it and put it on my wall. That I've never heard myself described as that. That was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You are such a force. Your ability to navigate. So everyone keeps saying how social media is like the new digital landscape.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It is the landscape.
Yeah.
We are now traditional media.
Mm-hmm.
But the assumption is we just showed up and influence just happened.
Yes.
How did you first break into the industry and then like walk us through getting into the industry and then staying in it?
Okay. So it's crazy because we just celebrated this a few nights ago, but I have two cousins who are in the dance industry, and they were with Christina, Britney Spears. So I grew up just like obsessed, wanting to be like them, wanting to be in show business. I wanted to dance, and my family shut that down quickly.
Oh.
Like, I was sabotaged. My mom stopped taking me to dance classes. All of a sudden it was like, oh, you can't go anymore. Maybe you should try a sports team or something like that. So looking back now, I'm like, wow, you guys really stopped me from being a dancer. But I tried to find ways because I just knew I wanted to be in entertainment. So I was like, okay, I'll say I want to be a journalist because that'll be more respectable. And then I can sneak and find a way to get into college and get a major, but then on the low take acting classes, which is what I did. I went to UC San Diego. And after that, the goal was to move to LA and work for E. And then I was going to go from reporting to acting. And then it's like, oops, I'm in in showbiz. And so after I graduated, I thought I could just, I guess, walk up to E! News and be like, can I get a job? And they're like, no. And I was like, I'll work for free. And they're like, we have a wait list of 500 interns. Like, okay. So I went back home for 2 years, and that I should have just moved here, because once I got back home in the hometown syndrome of everybody, just work for the state, just do this, I started getting comfortable again, but I also couldn't find work. So then what I really feel like catapulted me to LA is I had a boyfriend at the time. He broke up with me. My dad kicked me out because he said, you're a college graduate and you're not working. You can't stay here anymore. Moved in with my friend on her couch, and I basically had all my stuff in my car. I couldn't just move my whole room into her one bedroom. And then my car got broken into, and they took all my shoes, all my, like everything. So breakup, kicked out, robbed. I was just like, what else do I have to lose? I'm just going to go to LA. Like, let's just go. I had no plan, no job. My cousin had lived, I had a cousin that lived here. She was a nanny, and she had a situation where her roommate just got up and left, like broke the lease. And so she's like, if you really want to move, like you have a room, you just got to find out how you're going to pay for rent. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And that's so not like me at all, because I am a big worrier. I need a plan. But I came, and then I just started trying to find ways into the industry. I was an in-house PA for this company called Pretty Bird, and they were doing like big Super Bowl commercials at the time. You know, I love Beyonce. They just had done her On the Run, like video footage for her concert tour. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And the director, Paul Hunter, he's like legendary in the music video. He's done Michael Jackson. I'm literally on set for a Pharrell music video that was going to launch Apple Music, called Freedom, and I was a PA. They flew all the way to India to find this girl with the green eyes that had the what's the proper term? Hijab? That, and they couldn't find her. So literally they're about to shoot and they're like, we need you. I'm like, huh? So I got thrown into a music video like right then as a PA. All my coworkers are mad because now they're like, what do you want to drink, Brandi? We were just working together. Okay, I got to make this not long-winded. So fast forward,
tell.
I'm being a PA, doing odds and ends jobs. I also was like a brand ambassador for Nike, so I would do events. And then I went to a Super Bowl party, and that's where I met Wes that night. I did not know I met Wes that night, though, because all he did was come up to me and say, I love you, and then walk away. And
my man. Okay, Wes. I see you, Wesley.
And it was him, it was Daystorm, it was King Batch, like all the top Viners at the time that I didn't know. And I was just this like quiet girl in LA, just on the wall, like observing everybody.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we kept running into each other. And then finally he was like, do you want to come shoot some Vines? And I was like, what is that?
What's a Vine?
I didn't even have Vine on my phone. Like, I didn't know what the app was. Like, all my social media was like private, because I came from like a state job as like an intern or student worker when I was in college. So it was like, the thing was, don't ever show your social media.
Yep.
So then I'll never forget the day where it was like, I had to make it public, and we shot like 10 videos in one day. I made an account that night, and I woke up to 60,000 followers on Vine. And I was like, what is happening? Like, I didn't even do my own video yet, but just from the tagging back then, like, that's just how it worked. And we were on Vine for 2 weeks before they kind of did a protest, because Vine was starting to stop the influencer beginnings of getting brand deals. So if you were promoting a brand on Vine, you could easily tell that they would like stunt your growth, stunt your views. So it was like, fine, we're leaving. And luckily, right at the same time, Instagram just came out with their 15-second video feature. So then we all jumped to Instagram, and then here I am.
There's so much to unpack, because people see where we are now, but the story and the background of where we've all come from, like our stories are wild.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you think that we just showed up and all of a sudden the version of us that you're seeing at step 15 or 25 or 48, the amount of risk it takes to do what we do, the amount of someone said to me that they wanted the like influencer lifestyle. And I was like, you don't.
You work 24/7.
We work like, 24/7.
Yeah.
Life is still lifing. You've just graduated college. Your dad says you've got to leave. Your car gets broken into with everything you've got in it. You are couch surfing and have to decide in a moment what you're going to do with your life.
Yeah.
That changes the entire trajectory of what that looks like for you. Where did you find the courage and the audacity to come to LA? Because I know what it took for me.
Yeah. Honestly, I think at rock bottom, I was just like not thinking clearly. And I was just like, literally, like, what else could happen if I leave and have to come back? Like, that's the worst thing. And one of my best friends, like, knew I wanted to move to LA for years, but I kept making excuses. Like, I need to have the perfect place to live and the perfect job. And she just finally was like, it's not going to happen. You need to go right now. And like, kind of bullied me into it. Like, no, you need to leave. Like, I'll come visit, leave. If you don't leave now, you're never going to leave. And she was totally right. Because there was every reason to stay and, like, oh, I have family and just one more year and I'll keep searching for jobs. And I was taking like random little trips driving down and like back then like dropping off headshots and resumes, but like it just wasn't working. So I was like, instead of spending money and all that time going back and forth, I just need to be here, see what happens.
It's interesting because my story is similar in a sense
Mm-hmm.
where I launched Sara Lovestyle in June of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I think the official date was like July 1st. By September, I'm filing for divorce. My entire personal life is falling apart. I have nothing, and I'm coming back and forth between LA
Yeah.
and DC 6 to 8 times a month, going back and forth,
Jeez.
making sure that I come back in
Mm-hmm.
time, like taking a red eye here, taking meetings, going back, red eye back to make sure I can
Mm-hmm.
take my kids to school the next morning. It was a wild 18 months. One, I was missing opportunities because I
Mm-hmm.
just proximity to being here.
Yeah.
But then also, like, I looked around, I was like, I'm a single mom. I'm officially at my rock bottom.
Yeah.
If I don't go now, I'm never going to go to LA.
Mm-hmm.
I have children. That's such a scary decision to make when
Oh my
like
gosh.
I have these little people that I'm 100% responsible for. I'm by myself. They're with me 24/7. I'm not even sure what my next move is. And I think, I think about influence and how sometimes the influence is ourselves, like
Yeah.
for ourselves.
Yeah, totally.
And I want to go back to something you said about I remember when I started my career and people were like, "Oh, you're an influencer," or "You're just
Mm-hmm.
an influencer," or sometimes um, people will introduce me as just an influencer. Oh, Sarah's an influencer. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
there's like my resume is quite extensive.
Right.
And thinking back to the fact that like you went to college to have a respectable degree in your
Mm-hmm.
communications degree, I have a degree, and it's like, do you believe that going to UC and having your communications degree influenced your career? Like, was it helpful to go to college?
Um, Not in relation to social media per se, because I started social media in 2016. So, like, the term influencer wasn't even a thing yet.
Mm.
So, in college, it definitely wasn't a thing, but it did help me learn the social skills I think I needed to like network with other people, because in my communications major, I also took like a video production class.
Mm.
And so we would have to collaborate and we would get a script and we'd have 2 hours to like make a new segment on tape or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was already me kind of doing sketches and I didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that just so I could have it under my belt and throw it back, like I do have a degree. Like now what? I think that's what's most satisfying
Yeah.
about going to college, because Joe Byron did not pay my student loans. So that was some debt there. But yeah, I think it was worth it just for all the extracurricular things. I have like best friends for life from college, but what I learned, I don't remember.
You start in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
You're with Wes and all those guys at the beginning of Vine. Head over. Thank goodness Instagram decides they're going to launch 15
Mm-hmm.
second videos because they definitely were not reels quite yet. Did you always know it was going to work?
Absolutely not. You can ask Wes how many meltdowns, days I was crying, like, I'm gonna have to move back to Sacramento, like, because influencer life is so, like, back then it was even more fickle than it is now. Like, you might get one good brand deal and then 3 months nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn how to budget and just like realize, okay, if I take this PR package that's full of makeup and whatever, they're not paying me, but at least I didn't go spend $500 on makeup right now, and like just make those decisions, because you just never knew when the next job was coming. So I was constantly worried for a while.
It's I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about something else first before we get, because there's a lot that I want to dive into in the misconceptions of brand deals and partnerships and how we get them and why we get them. Um, but the one thing you've been able to do that I admire about you, that I love, is, did you have a strategy for how you built your audience in the beginning, or were you just creating content at the time?
No, I feel like I was just observing everybody around me and kind of trying to copy everything they did, because they had 3-4 years in before me. And so I was just soaking up everything they were doing. But the issue was I was trying to be their comedy style or post at their times of the day and not really do my own. So it took a while to just finally get out of my head and be like, let me just try this. Like, let me try my humor. Because now looking back, like every video that's like, oh, my boyfriend's cheating on me, like that wasn't me. I was always playing girls, like the pretty girl on the side or the girl next door. But like, I'm really weird and goofy and sarcastic,
Yep.
and I would never let that show, because I just wanted to stay that girl for their videos. But once I did that, I felt more free. I felt like I would get more inspired to make videos. It came easier because I was finally just like writing in my voice.
It's interesting because I had the same issue. I was making content that was like perfect and pretty and edited beautifully and structured. And then the pandemic happened. And I was like, these people just gonna get what they get. And that's when I started to grow. That's when the audience.
And that's the only Sara I know. So I didn't even know you
yeah.
tried to be somebody else before, because I
did.
love this Sara.
I was trying to like be buttoned up and perfect. And I was a mom, just trying to be like, I was trying to Nara Smith my life. Okay. I was trying to like,
I gotta go see this.
It's great. But it was such a hard shift. And I was like, what if nobody likes this? What if nobody wants to hear what I have to say? What if nobody can relate to me?
Yeah.
But the reality is I am goofy and I'm funny and I'm weird. And sometimes the stuff that I'm thinking isn't necessarily appropriate,
Yeah.
but there has to be someone out there that feels the same way. A word that gets thrown around a lot, and it's almost slightly annoying to me, is authenticity. But it's the fabric of what we do, and that's when our growth happened. What does authenticity mean to you, and how are you able to continue to portray it, even if everyone may not like it?
Yeah, like you said, I do feel like it's thrown around a lot, and it's almost like people are making authenticity a trend, which takes away the authenticity. But I don't know. I really just started adopting the feeling like, if I don't think it's funny, then I'm not going to post it. So there would be things that, like, sometimes when I shoot with Wes or other friends are like, you should say this. And I used to be like, okay, I'll try that. But now I'm just like, no, I want to say it this way. And like, even if it doesn't do well, like, oh well, because then if you're not authentic, you're chasing this pattern that's not you.
Right.
So for me, I do constantly need reminders. I have wonderful like childhood best friends who give me reminders like, I liked this video, you're still being you. They joke and like they're waiting on me to flip and like get all celebrity and like it's not happening. It would have happened by now. And they're like, yeah, you're right. So just having family and friends like in check sometimes before I post something, like, is this photo too much? And they're like, no, you better work it, girl. Or like, yeah, maybe save that for your birthday or something. That's when people get excuses. And I'm like, okay.
Fair.
Yeah.
So, as we talk about authenticity, then you garner followers. And there's such a massive difference between having followers and building a community.
Yes.
What is the key to building community or like a loyal fan base? Because we ride for you. We ride at dawn for Brandi, okay?
Thank you. I feel like I still need some keys because I don't know. It'll just, some content does good, some content doesn't. And I still don't know the exact formula. I feel like it's not up to us anymore. It's the algorithm, which is annoying. because when I started, we didn't deal with that. There was no algorithm. Everything was chronological order.
Yeah.
You knew when to post, like when the kids got out of school, right at this time. But now I feel like I thrive in my stories. Like that's when I'm the most free and don't have to edit, and like I can just say whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when I get like the comments of like, I love watching you and the behind the scenes and do more of this. And that's like really the motivation. So even Wes has been on me. He's like, you need to put your story, like that Brandi, into your feed. And I still haven't figured that out yet. But just I never was a person that was like, I can't follow back. I know there are creators that was like, I'm gonna follow one person and like not interact with other people. Like that was a thing back then.
Weird.
And I hated it. I follow like almost 6,000 people. I don't ever see them really,
Right.
but engaging with DMs whenever I have a minute, like say I'm waiting to take off on a plane, I'll just like go through message requests and like interact with followers or comment back or go on their page and comment on their stuff. That's when they get like really excited. So yeah.
It's I'll sometimes go to, like, for the consultation clients, sometimes like record labels will ask me to consult, and they'll say, how do we build this particular artist's social media, and why isn't it not working? And then I go to the artist page and there's no art.
Yeah.
Where's the music? If you are a singer, sing. If you are a comedian, make sketches, whatever your kind of comedy is, like make that content. And then, you know, then I go through the comments, and this guy hasn't replied to not a single comment. We are not above our comment sections.
Yeah.
We're not above responding to as long as they're appropriate.
Yes.
Responding to DMs and building and connecting. And I don't remember who it was. It might have been Gary Vee or someone back in the day that was like, he had this like 555 thing that he used to do. And he would say, make sure you respond to at least 5 of your comments. You should be responding to all of them, but at least 5 comments. Tap on 5 of your followers that you don't follow. Go to their page, go engage with 5 pieces of their content, and then make sure you respond to like 5 people in your DMs. And it's like,
good.
People need to know you. I think there's this, we see audiences in these numbers, but we forget that they're people. They don't have to follow us. They don't have to follow you. They don't have to engage with your content or feel like they're a part of your journey. But I know, not but, and one of the things that I love about your content is your stories are fire.
Thank you.
You are such a skilled, masterful storyteller. How do we do that? Because most people can't, or they wonder why they can't grow their audience. They don't have a community, but they aren't telling us a story to follow along with. What's a skill set that we can learn like through storytelling?
Thank you for that, because I've been having imposter syndrome. Like, people were telling me you tell such good story. I'm like, no, I don't. I just throw it up. For me, I love details. So like, let's say I miss a premiere or something, I'll go to a friend's page, like, I want to know what it was like. And they post like a red carpet photo and then a photo of popcorn. And then I'm just like,
Oh, I feel
what
that's
happened?
me.
No.
That's
No,
all
because
me. I'm
you're
sorry.
doing interviews and talking to the actors, and I get background there. It's somebody that like,
I gotta do better.
no, you don't,
gotta do
because
better.
it's
It's
your own. But for me, it's like, I think of, all right, let me show you what it's like, how I'm late every single time. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So we're in the car, I'm doing makeup, Wes is driving crazy, and I have one lash on. I'll just show that. Like, because before I used to think like, oh, you have to be perfect on camera. But I feel like that's what lets people know like you're real and gets a different side of you. So I just start thinking of how I can frame what I know is about to happen, because I know me and I know Wes. Like, I know he's going to forget his wallet. I know we're not going to make it to the check-in. I know I'm going to be struggling in heels and he's going to have to carry me. Like, so I just start, there's so many things I don't post in my phone because I'm just filming everything. And then I get home and I piece it together. So for me, I think a big part is details and just making you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
Or even if I'm telling a story back, like giving everybody's point of view and like, I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does, because I will be borrowing genius and I will be borrowing those elements, because I will go to a premiere and be like, yeah, I was there. And then I don't tell you what happened before I got there, which is typically a shit show.
Yeah.
And then I'm so tired and I've used up all of my extrovert tank that I get in the car and I'm out and then I go to sleep. But I got to do better with it.
It's like a joke. I keep saying I'm going to do a get ready with me before.
It's so much work.
It hasn't happened to date. Like that I don't know how girls do it. They must be doing it a day before.
Yeah, because I only have like 28 minutes to get ready.
28.
Like that's all I got. By the time I pick up the kids from school, I make their snacks and lunches, and LA traffic is 90 minutes.
World level that I can't even fathom.
It's mad.
Kids.
And then they gotta eat every day.
Myself together. They eat
every day.
Wow.
3 times.
Whoa.
Like yesterday wasn't enough? You have to eat right now?
Because I had coffee today, so
like
that was my girl dinner.
Like right. Actually, I looked at a charcuterie board and walked right past it and grabbed coffee. Like there's no time.
Right.
No, it's crazy. So the next thing that I want to talk about is how influence, we talked about how influence in community doesn't just happen. There is strategy, there's thoughtfulness required before you can ever begin working with brands. Because I hear creators, and for whoever's listening, hear me and hear me well. It doesn't matter if you have 5,000 followers or 500,000 followers. I know people who have 100,000 or 1,000,000 followers.
Yeah.
Who don't have strategy, who have built an audience, they don't have community, and don't work with brands or can't price right with brands.
Yeah.
Because you haven't built a brand that people can connect with. And so what are some things that folks should be doing before pursuing brand partnerships?
Before pursuing brand partnerships, I feel like you should genuinely use and want to work with the brand. If you're out here like, I want a brand deal and I'll work with anybody. Ooh, let me work with Celsius energy drinks. And you don't drink energy drinks, or you drink a completely opposite brand and you put that, like, you just be aware of what's in your own feed already. Like I've seen people that want to work with Disney, but they curse in every video. They have very suggestive content, and I'll try to tell them like that's not family friendly. Even though we have our Deadpools now and like Disney's expanding, at the end of the day, they have systems that I learned about a few years ago where like they put your social media through this online tracker thing and you get scored like B+, C versus like tracking your content, whether like it is nudity or whatever. If you mention OF, anything like that, it'll pull that and give you a grade, which is crazy. So I feel like know the brand that you want to work with. The Kim Kardashian era of just promoting any and everything is done. So that's not going to work anymore. So if you say, I want to do makeup, and you have no makeup video on your page, or you don't really use makeup, or you have videos saying like, I'm such a natural girl, I don't use makeup, like you have to make it make sense. And I think that's the biggest tip is like, have a brand you want to work with, look at their page, see their aesthetic, see what creators they reach out to for their brand deals. And if you're bold enough, reach out to them. Hey, how did you get to work with CoverGirl? I'd love to work with them someday. And if they're nice, they'll respond or give you a tip. It's just being right for the brand.
I think that's such an important thing to highlight because I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's my podcast, so I'm going to say it. So I have done some work with Coca-Cola. And one of the things I remember before I met with them that one of their executives mentioned was that they won't work with a brand, or they won't work with an influencer who has their competitor in any of their content. So for example, if I'm wanting to work with a Coca-Cola, their water is smart water. So something that I think is important for you all to note is you need to also study the brands.
Yeah.
What products do they have underneath? Like what's under L'Oreal?
Yeah.
What is under, because they have Armani and there's just
Yeah,
a bunch of companies
like
underneath.
PG
P&G.
is extensive.
So study the brands that you want to work with and go through your content. Because like a Coca-Cola, if I have a competitor in any of my stuff, they will not work with you.
Yeah.
I know a creator who had a large brand deal with them. And just as they were about to sign the paperwork, one of their executives noticed that they had a competitor in the back of their photos and stopped the entire campaign.
But also, I feel like that's not fair.
It's not. So they had to go and remove that piece of content and then go back and restructure it.
Okay.
They
So
did end up figuring it out.
Oh, in the video, they were going to post for Coca-Cola.
No, there was a previous, like from months prior. They had like all these cases of a different water brand. Cases. It wasn't even one water. They had cases.
I was about to say, like, if they were on set and they served it, but no,
cases in their house of water. That was, they had a delivery service with a different brand.
Wow.
So it's like you have to make it make sense.
Least, so I guess the lesson is look behind you.
Yes.
Before you film.
But that's what we do. We check everything. Check their aesthetics, check the brands that you want to work with, check and make sure that you understand what kind of content that they make. For example, if you want to work with a Disney, but you don't make Disney content.
Right. I'm like,
baby, that ain't gonna work. I have a question. So I had this conversation recently with a friend of mine who also works in the industry, and an agency told her that an agency told another creator not to tag like the brands that she wants to work with. Like, don't tag them. Even though she uses their products every day. Like, don't tag. I am of the complete opposite.
Same.
Where I'm like, you're using the brand. You want to work with the brand. Tag the effing brand every time. They may not see it today, but if it's 5 years from now, they see it. They can see that I'm loyal. I've been using the products. I buy the products. I can speak to why I love the product and how it works and why it works and what formula works for me or why the dress works for me. I'm of that belief. What are your thoughts on that?
100% the same way, because there are so many people on social media now. Like, it's impossible for them to find every creator that's perfect for their brand. Right. And like you said, if you keep tagging them, when they finally open your chat, they'll see the history of mentioned for years or whatever. So it's like, oh, they really have been a part of this brand that we didn't even notice or didn't send product to, like, just naturally. Yeah. And there's literally people dedicated to just comment on brand social media now. So the chances of them seeing it, I think, is actually higher these days. So that's absolutely the best way to get noticed. And also DMing them, reaching out, finding an email, going on LinkedIn, see who's working for them. Like, you have to go get them now. I think that there was a soft spot or a short window when it was like, I'm gonna wait for them to reach out to me, but that's not anymore.
No, it's what's interesting about the business and how it's shifted and changed is, like, I'll meet creators or folks that are on the agency side, or, you know, managers who will say, we don't follow up. We don't reach out. Like, they come to you. But what people don't understand is we're essentially a startup. You are in sales. You are in branding. You are in marketing. There is an entire business structure to being an influencer.
Yeah.
How can people build this if they're starting from ground zero?
It's just, I feel like everybody's page or journey, everything is just so different. It's like you could have a video that goes viral and that's your way in. You could be grinding for years, about to give up, and then finally you get that one email that changes everything. Yep. It's making sure you do content that you actually enjoy so that it's not a nuisance. It's not like, oh, I have to film today, because you would be doing it anyways. Like, when I go to movies and stuff, everybody's like, how do you keep going? And not everyone's paid. Not every single thing is paid, I'll be honest, but like, I go watch it anyways. I love movies, so I'm going to keep doing it because I'd go anyways. Yeah. And when I go to premieres, it's even better of an experience. So just starting with what you actually want to see yourself doing over and over. I have friends who started doing social media as characters and now they hate it. And they're stuck in that character because if they take off the wig and not do the voice, they're a completely different person and they feel like my page is gone.
What have been up until now your mama I made it WTF is happening right now moments?
First one I would say was the music video that I told you about, because that was Pharrell, that was Paul Hunter. I was on the Universal lot. Like, I literally was like, Mom, I've made it.
I made it.
I just knew after that I'm a movie star. Like, I'm gonna get an agent tomorrow. Like, absolutely none of that happened. Back on Monday morning, I was getting coffee again.
Dang.
But the second time was when I got flown out for the Ocean's 8 campaign, and I interviewed Sandra Bullock, who is my favorite actress ever, Kate Blanchett, Aquafina. I can't even think of the whole cast. I only had those three in a room, but that was the first time where it was like, you have 3 minutes with them, go. And I was like, what am I doing? That was the first time I was flown out for something, like with a brand, with Warner Brothers. I don't even like watching that interview because I wasn't there. Like, I blacked out. And it was such a bad interview because I was so nervous. And they're just like, hi, Brandi. And I was like, they said my name.
You know my
And
name?
I have this timer that's like going down like to 2 minutes. I'm like, anyways. And then most recently, my mom's favorite, which is when I text her like, Mom, look where I am, is when I went to the White House and Joe Biden,
Joe Biden.
President Joe Biden showed up. And I was like, okay, I'm at the White House. I think I've done something okay to be here right now.
It's interesting you didn't mention Bad Boys for Life.
Oh my gosh,
What?
how could I forget? Because again, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was an out of body. Meeting Will Smith. Oh my gosh. I used to write Brandi Smith on my homework. I was obsessed. I have proof. I've changed my name twice. I was married and divorced twice. So I was married to Kobe Bryant.
Oh, okay.
And then I was married to Will Smith.
Very understandable. Very understandable.
But no, that was...
I was Miss Iverson, so I get it.
Ooh, yes, he was one of the ones also. But I didn't marry him, probably because he was with you.
Yeah. Dating is fine. It's no big deal.
No, yeah. There's plenty more that I can't even think about, but Will Smith is the ultimate. And then if it's Beyonce, that's the only one I'm waiting for.
I have this conversation a lot with, with friends in the industry and folks who don't, and also with people who don't understand what we do. Influence can lead you to places.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just influencers.
Yeah.
But also there's a responsibility because that influence also influences other people. If you're an influencer without influence, you're just making pretty pictures and content. But there's a whole business to influence.
Yeah.
People are always trying to monetize, but they don't know how to monetize, what to monetize. How do you balance the part of like needing to be seen, being authentic with the content that we make, also making sure that we're also staying top of mind by being at screenings and going to different events that are intentional for the brands that we're building, while also trying to figure out how do we scale this and create a business out of our brands?
Yeah. It's been definitely a journey because in the very beginning, I was just so excited to be at any and everything. Like if I got invited, I felt like they're going to hate me if I don't go or I won't get invited again. And I was just so excited to be there. So I was running myself into the ground, like 5 events a week and not really having time to work or edit or film other stuff. So then it came to the point where it's like, all right, if I genuinely don't care for this movie, I don't need to go. Those were hard decisions to make because first it was just movies and then streaming came out. So it was like times 100 of things to go to. But that was one way to like, all right, work-life balance because it's a lot. Like, we have outfits, makeup, hair. Like, it's not just show up to the event. It's 2 hours before, 2 hours after.
Yep.
Really sitting down and like having goals. I have a management team now, so they would like have weekly meetings with me. Like, all right, so what brands, what do you want to tackle this month? What do you want to do? I'm like, all right, well, I want to be invited to Coachella. I want to do this, anything like that. And then they'd help strategize like, all right, so then you need to start posting festival outfits or doing this. And I'm not going to lie, it doesn't always work out. Like, I don't always stick to my plan, because then I'll show up one day and be like, okay, I'm going to this premiere. I changed my mind. And like, you're supposed to be doing this. But it really is, I feel like there's not one set way, because my plans change as times change. But it's really just remembering what your ultimate goal is. Like, for me right now, it's acting, and I've lost sight of that. So I've been worried about social media so much. The other day, my friend was like, I didn't know you wanted to act. And I'm like, how do you not know that? That's what I moved here for.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not showing it. I'm not putting that out there. I'll take classes, but I don't post it. Take headshots, but I don't post it. So for me, that's like my next phase of things, is like letting my new audience know that like I actually want to act. Social media was for fun.
It's fascinating that you said that, because people will say, oh, Sara, I thought you just did this content, or I thought you just did that. I'm like, no, I'm actually really smart.
Yeah.
I work in VC, and I have all of these other things in the knowledge that even my manager recently, I remember I posted something about an acquisition, and she's like, oh, I didn't even realize you knew that. I didn't know you were that smart. And I was like, oh, I have to do better.
Yeah.
What happens when someone gets caught in the rat race of going after trends and going after what everyone else is doing, and then you get stuck? And like you mentioned, creating content that no longer speaks to you, or the kind of content that you want to make, because then people get stuck having to make that kind of content rather than the content that brought them here. And I think people move to LA or New York assuming that because you've dominated your particular market, or you're famous in that market, that it's going to work here. And it just doesn't work that way. And so for me, one of the things that I've done is to create my own opportunities. How can people create their own opportunities the way that we have? Like, you've done the Disney cruise, you have your Pixar, you're working with your favorite brands that are so authentic to who you are anyway. How can people navigate that space and not get stuck chasing trends and creating content that's authentic, even if it doesn't necessarily work and give you the numbers that you want?
Yeah. It's just working until the right person sees it, honestly. And when I moved here, everybody told me it's not even about talent, it's about relationships. And I hated hearing that, because I'm like, no, it's not. Like, you still have to be good. But this past year, I've been seeing how much relationships really are everything. So I was posting Disney all the time. I worked with Disney Plus a lot, but I could not find my way into Disney Parks, which is the cruise lines, all the Disney parks. And if it wasn't for my friend Drea, who brought me as her +1 to a Wakanda Forever event, I don't know if I would have ever met the Disney Parks team, because I reached out to Disney Plus several times. Like, I'd like to do this. And it's so big that like they don't even work with certain teams that do other things. So she brought me to this event, and I was just so excited to be there. I made all this content, posted a video. Didn't even think they'd see it, because I'm tagging them, but they didn't respond. And next thing you know, I get an invite to go on a cruise, because she was like, I loved the content you did for the Wakanda Forever. And she reached out to Dre and was like, who's your friend again? Like, I want to invite her to this. She seems like a big Disney person. And like, I thank Drea for that, because again, it was her invite, but I showed up, showed what I needed to show, and then it turned into like a lifelong partnership with them. So just like doing what you love. It sounds so cliche, but like posting what you actually like and want to be a part of, and saying why, because so many people are like, I want to work with blah blah blah. Okay, why you? What makes you different? What makes you stand out?
Social media has changed a lot. I technically have been on since 2014, but I didn't take it seriously till 2019. And growing was easy. Chronological order was easy. Also, Adam, can we just show my content to like 50% of my audience? I don't need 1 minute music, 30-minute music. I don't need a top 8, which is suddenly on my the notes. Like, this isn't my space. I don't need top 8. I don't need additional music. I just show my content to my audience. or give us chronological order, sir. That's my PSA, please. Thank you.
Thank
you. Brand deals were actually easy.
Yes.
Like they were easy coming back in like 2019, 2020, 21. And all of that has slowed down.
Yeah.
But there's also like, what do they say? Over 1 billion people on social media now, like on Instagram alone now. And it's hard for brands to find you. There's just so many people. Now, for the people that are going to say it's oversaturated, it's not, because nobody's me. Nobody's you. I don't make content like Brandi. I don't sound like Brandi. I can't storytell like Brandi. So find your lane, find your voice, and do that, and do a lot of it well.
Yeah.
But the landscape has changed so much. And like I was saying earlier, we are media now. We are moving the needle in a way that celebrities can't move anymore. Like they don't move the needle like that anymore.
Or celebrities are trying to come get brand deals from us.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But the landscape has changed so much. Where do you see it going? And what should people be prepared for, like in the future, even as we're figuring it out and navigating?
Yeah. I'm actually kind of worried where it's going with AI, which is why I was at the White House. It was a creator summit, and now that they recognize us as media, like you said, they were reading all these stats that like more people get their news and info from social media versus news stations, which is crazy. Good and bad, because anybody can just jump online and say whatever, and then everybody believes it. California just passed the law through SAG that you cannot use AI to replace actors' faces. But I don't know if you see the trend of everybody making their own Hollywoods in Nevada and Dubai. So those laws don't protect us there. I feel like because of the algorithm, and they keep finding ways to like stunt our growth and views because they know we're making money, that's going to be an issue. And they're going to start, brand deals are changing already. I read this article about Netflix trying to propose that they pay actors only half up front or something like that. And then if the movie does well, then you'll get more money, basically. This is like very layman's terms because I don't know all the percentages, but they're trying to say that like they're tired of spending all this money on movies that flop or don't do well. So they're only going to give you your rate after you make a good movie, which is crazy because it's in the writing, it's in the directing, it's in the editing. Like, it's not fair. But for social media, I just feel like some people are getting burnt out. I know a lot of friends that just left, like, I'm doing real estate. I'm going to do this more. I can't. So it might start evening out, but it really is about the authenticity, which we discussed earlier. It's not about the TikTok dances anymore. Like, that used to just get people viral and you would just hit the latest trend. But I don't know about you. I see that like not happening anymore. So it's really about finding your niche and just being great in that niche and not trying to tackle all of Instagram. Like, being the most popular TikTok creator isn't getting people the deals they want anymore. You have to be known for a certain thing. So I was told when I first moved here, like, pick one thing and only talk about that. That drove me crazy. I don't like just one thing. I have like top 5 ratings and I try to stay within those. Now, if I just showed up and was like, all right, I'm gonna do horseback riding now, that would be off.
Yeah.
So I stay with movies, comedy, travel, Disney. I don't even know. They change all the time. But movies is always a staple. So keep making sure that's in my brand consistently is what I try to focus on. So if you're just starting, I don't want to discourage you, but just know it's not show up to events, look pretty, and get PR boxes. Like, there's so much work underneath.
No, and I think, we talk about how it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. We talk about that in other industries, but it also is in ours.
Yeah.
This is year 10 for me. I'm just now officially 5 full-time, but 10 at it. This is the first time I'm finally in my groove and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
This is livable. Plus I've got my investments. I've got equity. I'm doing all of these things. But it's taken me 10 years to get here. I think about even Glamzilla. She's been at this 15 years grinding, consistently posting every day. And like, 2024 is her year. Like she
Yes, everywhere.
is everywhere. And I love this for her. But it took her 15 years.
I
so
didn't
if you're
even know
seeing
she's
her,
been 15 years.
because I've been following her 10.
I just found her maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, 10.
That's the algorithm and the internet, and like now you show me her. I'm like, I would have liked to see her 10 years ago.
But for someone who's frustrated or disappointed or having imposter syndrome, what's the advice you would give them?
It's hard because I'm in that and I live it. But the best thing is getting reminders from family and friends. When I get a text like, "Oh my gosh, you met Will Smith," I'm like, I did meet Will Smith. Like, it gets me re-excited because, like, even the other night I was with Christina Aguilera, and somebody commented like, "Oh my gosh, I would have fainted," and I didn't faint. But in my head, I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And then it's just validation, like, okay, it is cool. Like, I am doing things that like people look up to.
Yeah.
And I'm always worried about the next thing, but like just taking the moment to sit here and look back. Like sometimes I just scroll my feed and I'm like, wow, I did a lot like in this last year or the last few years. Like, and that's not even everything I'm posting.
Right.
There's so much more in between. So taking reminders, I don't know. I'm still navigating it.
I love it. Thank you, Brandi. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Influence to Equity, and we'll see you next week.